Let's bring in Chris Stigall.
He is Chris Stigall.
Chris Stigall.
I'm joined now by Chris Stigall.
Host of the Chris Stigall Show.
So let's bring in talk radio host Chris Stigall.
Also, his podcast is a must-listen every day. Chris Stigall Show podcast.
And host of the Chris Stigall Show.
Let's bring in Chris Stigall.
Please welcome Chris Stigall.
The Chris Stigall Podcast is presented by usmedicalplan.com. Save big money monthly and get better health coverage at usmedicalplan.com.
Hey there, how you doing? Thanks a lot for downloading the Chris Stigall Show podcast. Always appreciate your 5-star reviews. If you get the time, I know it's an inconvenience, but if you ever get the time to scroll down to the bottom of the menu of shows at Apple Podcasts and leave a written review and a 5-star review, that helps advance our goals and our show more than anything else. Or that 5-star review at Spotify. Grateful that you listen. I should also remind you that if you ever want to watch the video version of this for any reason, when YouTube allows it, we're on YouTube. And also you can check out the show on Rumble every day because that's where free speech lives all the time. So there is a video version of this for those of you that only listen to the audio, rumble.com and YouTube. It's all linked at chrisstigall.com. There's also a link and another video to watch about our title sponsor, John Ruhlman, and usmedicalplan.com, the guy that makes health insurance as affordable as he can possibly find it for you, but still covers you well. You know, the thing is, people ask me all the time, Chris, if I call John and he gives me a cheaper rate, does that mean I'm going to get cut rate insurance? No, not at all. John will shop with 80 different private health insurers that he has access to. He'll run the numbers on your current insurance plan. Maybe you've already got the best insurance out there for you. It could be. He'll tell you if so. But the goal is to, number one, find you a more affordable price tag on insurance. If it exists, it's probably like 30 to 60% cheaper out there. That's generally what he saves people. I mean, I know people that have saved thousands of dollars by making this phone call for their families or themselves as individuals. You know, if you're a senior and you need that supplemental insurance plan to go along with your Medicare, he can cover it. If you're a small business owner and you want to extend insurance benefits to your employees, but it's breaking your budget to afford those premiums to cover your employees, let John go do some work for you. And the great thing is he's an advocate. If you ever have any kind of issues with a doctor's bill or a hospital bill and your insurance, John and his team advocate for you. In fact, they'll jump in right now if you're in the middle embroiled in some kind of thing to help you transition into a new program and do your battles for you. That's what I really love. It's one-stop shopping in a area of our lives that's often very bureaucratic and time-consuming. John tries to make this as easy, affordable, and trouble and worry-free as he can. usmedicalplan.com, usmedicalplan.com, or 877-410-4321. I hate to be the rain cloud. It's fun to watch your adversary struggle and twist in the wind. I'm with you. But there's one thing they are not wounded on, and that is their organized opposition to you and to me. They are not ever going to tire or stop in collectively organizing to defeat you and me and our candidates. And so whatever their struggles may be publicly to figure out who their candidate is going to be, the one thing they won't stop doing. Did you see AOC yesterday issued articles of impeachment against 2 of the Supreme Court justices? They're not going to stop. This may be a fun distraction for you and me, but don't let it lull you into a sense of complacency or confidence that this is in the bag now. You know, I hear people say, I want Biden to stay in. I hope he stays in. If he does, boy, it's in the bag. It's slam dunk, folks. We've already been through this once before. He was already a feeble old husk behind a mask with absolutely no popularity, hiding in a basement, and they did it to us once before. They can do it again, and they can do it with him, or they can do it with whoever they pick. So while this is all fun, hate to rain on the parade here. They're going to figure out how to go out and early vote, cast, count, collect, harvest, and get whoever it is at the end of the day. After all this palace intrigue is over, whoever it is that ends up being the Democrat nominee, whether it's the Husk who's not going anywhere on his own, they're going to have to kill him or bribe him or threaten him. He's not leaving on his own. They may well get their way, and I think they probably will, to get rid of him. But their alternatives are not as many as I think media and this blitz primary crap. Like that's not going to happen. They have one alternative. And that's cackle britches. And the question before them is, what do they do with her? They got to buy her off too, or threaten her too. Make her go away. Even George Clooney, who just 2 weeks ago, remember, what was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago that, which this is also kind of ironic, actually. After that Hollywood fundraiser that I think featured George Clooney and Kimmel, I don't think there was a celebrity that was under the age of 50 there fundraising for Biden. Obama was there, remember? And the video surfaced of Obama leading the Husk off the stage by the arm. And we talked about how diminishing and embarrassing that was. And remember what Pepe Le Pew called that? That video was a deep fake. It was a lie. It was made up. Wasn't real. We all saw that Barack Obama had to lead the Husk off the stage like he was visiting his grandfather at the old folks' home. And they went for a little walk down the hall. We all saw it with our own eyes. The White House press secretary actually called it a fake video. Like it was AI doctored or something. George Clooney was at that fundraiser. And they crowed about how they raised something like $38 million or something, right? So yesterday he comes out and writes in a New York Times op-ed, "It is devastating to say it, but the Joe Biden I was with 3 weeks ago at the fundraiser was not the Joe big effing deal Biden of 2010. He wasn't even the Joe Biden of 2020. He was the same man we all witnessed at the debate." So, what have we here? George Clooney has inadvertently stepped in it himself in basically admitting that everybody that has been reporting on Joe Biden's health and virility and calling you and me kooks and conspiracy guys and deep fake guys, George Clooney is actually confirming that we were right. And he and they were all caught in a lie now. Was this op-ed helpful, Fast Eddie? George Clooney coming out, was this helpful? And I don't just mean to Biden or the Democrat Party. I mean, was this helpful to Democrats and the media generally? This is an op-ed, in my view, that says it's true. Everything you saw, that conversation about him being led around by Obama, I was there, and it's true, and he's a husk. He's a shell of himself. 3 weeks. Deep fake, deep fake, deep fake. Now he comes out and confirms everything we said. Does this help?
Chris, no, I was thinking about this because while he's more successful than I'll ever be, George Clooney is not really that smart. Like, I don't think of him as that smart of a person. Like, I've never thought that. So I actually agree with you. I think that this is not helpful. This does inadvertently blame who's been covering for him all these years.
It makes them all look like liars. They all look like complete liars. How about Colbert? Colbert's apparently over there now doing stand-up. He's doing his monologue jokes, making fun of Biden now, too. Jon Stewart making fun of Biden now. Called him all. There's a clip of Jon Stewart floating around from this week saying that they're all bull excrement artists. We're not going to win in November with this president, writes Clooney. On top of that, we won't win the House. We're going to lose the Senate. This isn't only my opinion. This is the opinion of every senator and every Congress member and governor I've spoken with in private, every single one, introspective of which he or she is saying publicly. So I guess George Clooney has not talked with John Fetterman. Or John Fetterman tells us this publicly, and he says to George Clooney privately, yeah, I'm with you, George. He can't win. As Biden digs in, the delicate question of how to convince him to abandon the race is vexing Democrats on Capitol Hill. Clooney implored Democrat leaders like Pelosi to ask the president to step down. Top Democrats, he writes, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, and senators, representatives, and other candidates who face losing in November need to ask this president to voluntarily step aside. George, I don't know how to break this to you, but you don't know what you're talking about. Again, I don't really want to help Democrats here, but there are a good number of these people who are not exactly in office with commanding dominant leads in their House districts. You do understand that, right, George? No, you probably don't, because you live in a fictitious world called Hollywood where everybody votes the way you do and it's not even in question by like 90%. So you think the entire country, this is emblematic of the way people like George Clooney think. He thinks the entirety of the Democrat Party should vote and act and think the way he does. And while they all do, because they don't have brains of their own, and they do all vote like herd animals, they've still got elections to win back home in their respective districts, which means they got to go back home and in some cases lie to their districts that they're good old-fashioned moderates. Some of them are still playing that game back home. Throwing Joe Biden overboard for that empty-headed twit we call a vice president from California that nobody wanted, throwing him overboard, George, for a lot of these House Democrats is not only not an easy thing, it is not a surefire winner. In fact, they calculate they're better off with the Husk than they are with her, George. So you see the conundrum that Democrats have here. And I'm talking about, this specifically goes to the House Democrats. I'm not even talking about Senate candidates. I mean, what about Bob Casey has basically thrown in and said, well, of course, he's hard to find. He was stumping with Biden this weekend. Hasn't what about Bob Casey basically more or less just at least visually gone on the record and said he's with Biden, he's riding with Biden?
Oh, yeah. No, Bob Casey's in.
So if Fetterman and Casey, for instance, in the swing state of Pennsylvania are both throwing in and showing their support for Biden, and George Clooney says, every Democrat I know and have talked to says they want rid of Joe Biden, and the only way Democrats won't lose this fall is if they get rid of Joe Biden, then what about Bob Casey and John Fetterman doing? Do you think they calculate they know better how to win Pennsylvania than George Clooney does? And again, I don't care. I mean, it's delightful to watch. I'm not trying to counsel Democrats, but seriously, does George Clooney know how to win in Pennsylvania better than Bob Casey and John Fetterman? He seems to think he does. So somebody's colossally wrong here. Is it the Pennsylvania boys in the Senate, or is it George Clooney? Who's wrong?
Do you support keeping Biden at the top of the ticket?
Oh, I've said so numerous times. You heard my remarks over a week ago in Scranton.
You don't have any concerns about his ability to serve 4 more years?
No.
I mean, you saw him in the debate stage.
And Manu, my job is not to be a commentator or an analyst.
My job is
got a job to do as the United States Senator.
My job is not to be a commentator and an analyst, because that requires talking and being alive with a pulse generally, and of course, as you know, I don't have one of those. Well, this is all fascinating. It is fascinating. But in just a couple of weeks, we start collecting ballots in Pennsylvania. So while it's all very sexy and entertaining and fun, they're going to start collecting ballots here soon. Excellence in dentistry. That's what you're going to get at Williamsburg Dental. My friend Bob Spinato is back on the phone. He's in Broomall, just off the Blue Route. And with 2 new associates, now you can expand and offer more hours, maybe evening hours, possibly weekends, Bob.
Yeah, one of the things that I told them from early on when they started with me was the value of not only their own time, but other people's times. And they run on a similar schedule that I do. If you've got a 1 o'clock appointment, you're in their chair at 1 o'clock. And it's something that across the board at Williamsburg Dental, we really pride ourselves on, whether it's an appointment with the hygienist or whether it's an appointment with one of our doctors. The other thing is we now have some expanded hours in the evenings, and even there's some discussion about opening again on some Saturdays for services.
Yeah, but not you. You're fishing. You're not kidding anybody. It's not you going to be working on Saturday. Come on,
Well, I'm in my 33rd year, and it should be the young guns.
That's right. You've earned it. You've earned it.
I feel like I have. Thank you.
Pick up the phone or go online, make that appointment, 610-353-2700 or williamsburg-dental.com. Yeah, I mean, the celebrity class they're out now. I don't know. I don't know. Anybody checked in on Kimmel? Kimmel's the one that hosted this big fundraiser 3 weeks ago that George Clooney has now come out and said, boy, it was bad. I was there. Everything you think about him, it's that and worse. I was in the room. Well, Kimmel was the one hosting the damn thing. Has he said anything? Colbert over there at the Late Show is laying in on Biden, basically pushing him out. Listen.
Now, the competing virtue here, there's another competing virtue, and that is self-sacrifice. And self-sacrifice takes a particular kind of courage. And that is a courage I believe Joe Biden is capable of.
Guilting him into it
I believe
now.
he's a good enough man. He is a good enough president to put the needs of the country ahead of the needs of his ego.
This is a variety show.
And however painful that might be, it is possible handing leadership to a younger generation is the right thing for the greater goodest.
This is folks, this is a variety show. This is a comedy variety show, I remind you. Test 1, 2. Hello, is this thing on? You were just listening to the clip of a variety show and the host doing a monologue. Johnny Carson must be spinning in his grave. I grew up loving, do you understand? I grew up loving TV variety shows. My dream in life was to host a late night talk show. My dream in life was to do that. And to see what it's become today. It's Morning Joe at night. I mean, it just makes me not. But nevertheless, the point is, he's trying to shame and guilt Biden into, dude, you're a good man. Put the needs of the country ahead of your ego and yourself and step down. I bet you we have clips aplenty from just weeks ago of Stephen Colbert not only mocking Trump, but cheering Biden right on as if nothing was ever wrong. That's what's so amazing. These people were perfectly content to lie to you and me and themselves about Biden's virility and health. It makes you think, imagine if this debate had never happened. Would we be here if this debate had never happened? Answer, no. Which again brings me back to why it fell out of the sky and happened to begin with. It was the table setter for this entire thing we're watching. Sorry, dog on a bone thing here. I can't let go the fact that June 27th debate was not a thing. That's not normal. Shouldn't have happened. Pissed me off. Didn't like it. Heading into vacation. They're having a what now? I'm going to do a show at 2 a.m. in Seattle. Huh? I wanted to go on vacation before the 4th of July. Nope, we're having a presidential debate. Shkong. What? Nobody but me was like raising his hand and going, this is weird. Well, now we know why they did it. It set the table. It laid waste to all of this that we're living through now. Now, all of these people that said he was perfectly fine are content to now say, yeah, forget everything we've been saying. Throw him over. Jon Stewart, same deal over there at the Daily Show earlier in the week. Monday, I think.
There was no real primary. Biden ran against Dean Phillips. That's not even a real person. That's a stock photo on the package for a garden hose. It's not a person. AI. And let me say this. Authoritarianism and Donald Trump aren't the only threats our democracy faces. An arthritic status quo, unable or unwilling to respond in any way to the concerns of voters who just received new and urgent information about their candidate, also erodes confidence and faith in the system of government. Get on board or shut the up is not. Yeah. Honestly, though, get on board or shut the up is not a particularly compelling pro-democracy bumper sticker. Nor is, what are you going to do?
I've gotten a lot of texts today from folks who watched a lot of West Wing episodes and imagine a very complex path through which we might have a robust primary process. But, Wolf, you know the reality. There's 4 months left to the presidential election.
4 months is forever. Britain just held an election in 2 months. France had 2 in 1 month, defeated fascism, and still had time to have an affair with Denmark. Are Are you telling me, you sons of bitches, are you coming to my house and saying to my face that the United States of Bruce Springsteen's America can't hold an election better than a French? Is that what you're telling me? It's 4 months. 4 months. It's 119 days. There are contestants on The Bachelor who haven't even met yet that will get married and divorced between now and the election. We have nothing but time. And by the way, I am in no way saying Biden's got to drop out, but can't we stress test this candidacy? Can't we open up the conversation? Do you understand the opportunity here? Do you have any idea how thirsty Americans are for any hint of inspiration or leadership and a release from this choice of a megalomaniac and a suffocating gerontocracy? It is crushing our spirit. Do you have any idea what could be ahead of you? All we want is for someone to keep it 100. The percentage, not the age. That's all we want.
Okay, there's so much in this. I didn't get to that earlier in the week. I'd been sitting on it, but it's just wonderful to hear now, particularly given Colbert also saying the same thing, get out of the way. I took some notes during that little rant. First of all, I don't know if Comedy Central is still owned by Paramount. I think they are. The Paramount Plus people whose stock dipped. Do you know that I used to work for CBS Radio, and then CBS Radio sold to the George Soros-owned and operated Odyssey. But what was interesting was the CBS stock, I had a bunch of it, and it wasn't doing anything particularly special. And then they launched this thing called Paramount Plus, their streaming service. Fast Eddie, there was about a week there, and boy, I timed it just right, where they launched Paramount Plus, their streaming service, and that CBS stock just skyrocketed. And I sold every share and made a little coin on it, happy to say. So I thank the good people at CBS and Paramount Plus. But it was just a few weeks later, and it just tanked. Paramount Plus now and CBS stock is just in the toilet. The best thing CBS/Paramount could do right now is throw every nickel they have at Jon Stewart, quite frankly. Because I'll be honest with you, even though I don't share his politics, you talk about a product, The Daily Show, which was sort of their crown jewel at Comedy Central, and has languished ever since he walked away from it. While I don't in any way agree with what he just said, and I'll parse what he just said in a minute, he did it very well. I'm reminded of how talented he is. He's very, very good, and he's very talented, and he made that show what it is. He's a star, and it amazes me that they ever allowed him to walk away. And when he comes back for one day a week, you listen to that and you go, you know what? For as much as I disagree with him, he does it in a wildly entertaining way. He's a very funny guy. He's very good at his job. I don't understand why you wouldn't open up a Brinks truck for him. Maybe he just doesn't want the daily stress. But it's a reminder why they pulled him out of mothballs and begged him to come back for one night a week. He did very well there. But let's unpack the rant a little bit. Complaining that Joe Biden hanging in and the Democrats telling everybody to get on board or shut the F up isn't a compelling campaign slogan. John, get on board and shut the F up is exactly what the Democrat Party stands for. If ever there was a bumper sticker that codified what the Democrat Party believes, it is that. Get on board and not only shut the F up, we will arrest you or silence you and destroy your career if you don't get on board and shut the F up. Your party is the granddaddy of get on board and shut the F up, John. Your government, Joe Biden's government, has worked with social media companies to force us all to get on board and shut the F up, or else, first of all. Second, he says, we have new and urgent evidence that Joe Biden is diminished. New and urgent. Can't we stress test his candidacy? Didn't he just say he had no meaningful competition? He had just earlier complained that there was no meaningful challenge to Joe Biden, and now he's saying, can't we stress test his candidacy? Then, of course, he says the country is thirsting for inspiration and leadership. Yeah, John, we had leadership. It was called MAGA. We had leadership. It's called Donald Trump. You can decide whether he's inspirational or not, but he sure as hell was a leader, and we will all sure better off. Well, if you haven't noticed, inflation is still at a 40-year high. The stock market looks more uncertain than ever. And a new central bank digital currency is on the way. That could be the government's ultimate surveillance tool against Americans. It seems like the government is playing games with your savings and retirement. And so what do you do to help protect yourself? Did you know you can put physical gold and silver into an IRA or a 401k with zero taxes or penalties? Millions of Americans are doing it right now. And you should consider it, too, if you want to preserve and protect your wealth. And there's only one company that I would recommend to you to do that. It's a company called Preserve Gold. Now, they'll go over all your options and make the process of acquiring precious metals easy and simple. So if you're looking to help protect your retirement with a trustworthy company, request your free investment guide from the experts at Preserve Gold. Preserve Gold is accredited with the Better Business Bureau. They have hundreds of 5-star reviews. So you know you're in good hands. Just text Stigall to 50505. Again, text Stigall, my last name, Stigall, to 50505. And get an exclusive offer for everybody that's tuned into this show. You're going to get up to $15,000 in free gold and silver with a qualifying purchase or a retirement account rollover. Yeah, that's huge. Don't wait. Text my name, Stigall, to 50505 today. Get your free gold and silver investment guide and take that first step. Again, that's Stigall, Stigall. Text it to 50505 and get your free guide from the good people at Preserve Gold. They are ticked off at the Husk on this story about them feeding that woman questions over at that radio station, WURD, Word Radio. I have that story. There it is. Yes. Sarah Lomax, president and CEO of Philadelphia's WURD Radio, took to the talk station's airwaves this week to clear the air about a high-profile ethical misstep, says the Philadelphia Inquirer. It's an ethical misstep, you see. Ethical misstep. Been a lot of those with Democrats lately, haven't there? Ethical missteps. See Johnny Dock and Bob Menendez and George Norcross for more. Ethical missteps.
Oh, boy.
Andrea Lawful-Sanders, the former talk show host at WURD. Remember how all this started, by the way. She went on CNN over the weekend after this disastrous debate, and the CNN anchor asked Andrea Lawful-Sanders, were you asking him questions they fed you? And remember, she... affirmative, like without batting an eye. She admitted that, yes, in fact, the White House fed every question I asked. Everything I asked directly of Joe Biden was something they gave to me, and I read it off a script. So she's vanished from the radio station. Do you have that audio, by the way, from CNN? You do? Okay, play that, please.
You each you asked 4 questions, and maybe that's what you were allowed to ask by the campaign or the White House. But they were essentially the same questions, both interviews, about accomplishments, progress in your respective state, what's at stake in the election, what he has to say about his debate performance, and what he would say to voters who think their vote doesn't matter or might sit this election out. Were those questions given to you by the White House, or did you have, or the campaign, or did you have to submit questions ahead of this interview?
The questions were sent to me for approval. I approved them.
Okay, so the White House sent the questions to you ahead of the interview?
Yes.
Okay.
I got several questions, 8 of them, and the 4 that were chosen were the ones that I approved.
Okay. And the reason I ask is not a criticism of either view. It's just that if the White House is trying now to prove the vim, vigor, acuity of the president, I don't know how they do that by sending questions first before the interview so that the president knows what's
again,
coming.
I know I've already done this show, but let me just say again while we're here, this is what such... Axios writing this story today. Well, now Biden's really going to get it. Because for the last 3 years, he's been faking his way through this whole thing and really hasn't given us any access, and now we're really going to let him have it and put him to the test. Where the hell have you been? So you're basically admitting what we've all known is that this entire last 3.5 years has been a complete facade, a charade, a lie. You people have not been doing your job. You've allowed them to stave you off, keep you at bay, ignore you, not answer your questions, lie to you and tell you that he's virile. You didn't ask any questions. You didn't challenge the narrative. You never, ever were remotely curious about his ability to do anything. When we saw that he had to have help getting upstairs or walk across the White House lawn, you jackasses, you called us kooks. You said there was nothing to see. And now all of a sudden, Axios writes, Biden pretended to do a free-flowing interview with friendly black radio host over the weekend, only to get busted for feeding them pre-written questions. And this guy at CNN, did they send you pre-written questions? And this woman, yes, they sent me pre-written questions. He goes, oh, I'm not picking on you. I know you're not picking on her because you do the same damn thing, whoever you are on CNN. You all do it. You shouldn't pick on this woman. Why the hell pile on her? So back to the WURD CEO, she's ticked. She's like, why the hell are you people piling on me? You all do the same thing. We all are in this together. We've all been part of this game, and now you're making me the whipping post? Sarah Lomax, the president and CEO of this radio station, accused Joe Biden's campaign of pulling a fast one and said the Democrat Party needs to get its act together to prevent another Donald Trump presidency. Now, remember, this is the same woman who, when this Andrea Lawful Sanders woman was dismissed, they deny she was fired, but anyway, when she vanished after admitting that she read the questions verbatim as the White House gave to her to ask, this Sarah Lomax, who runs the place, said, we are above board and transparent, and we are all about democracy and truth and journalism and fair and balanced. Remember? That was the big statement, right? She comes out this week and says, we've got to stop Donald Trump from winning. I mean, they can't keep from contradicting themselves within 48, 72 hours. Of course they're left-leaning wackos. Of course they are, and they all are. And all of them are part of the same cabal. They all were going to be helpful to Joe Biden until the all-call went out. There was no longer a need to be helpful. Lomax's on-air appearance came after Lawful Sanders said on CNN the Biden campaign sent her 8 predetermined questions. The comment made waves online as many raised questions about Biden's ability to perform his public duties as president. The Biden campaign defended the practice, with spokespersons saying that sharing topics they would prefer is a common practice. The campaign will no longer offer suggested questions after the blowback. In an Instagram post this week, Lawful-Sanders said she worked with Biden's team about topics to discuss before the interview, and they respected my notes, question edits, and licenses to add, ignore, or change the suggested questions. In a post online Sunday, the woman that runs WURD said, Miss Lawful-Sanders and WURD have mutually agreed to part ways. Andrea resigned, she said on the air Monday, on her own volition. She was not fired. She chose to resign, and we accepted her resignation. Lawful-Sanders also said on Instagram she resigned over the weekend, and on Monday said she didn't have a background in journalism prior to the role. I am not a journalist, she said. I was once a radio host. Every single day, though, I am a black woman in America. Oh, well, then, by all means, that must qualify you. No, I'm not a journalist. I'm barely a radio talk show host, but I am every day a black woman in the United States of America. Well, so by all means. And because of that alone, she says, I will rise to every occasion to serve and advocate for my community with integrity, transparency, and a pure heart. Lomax also praised Lawful-Sanders for her work at the station. According to Lomax, all interviews involving the White House are required to go through the station's general manager, but Biden's team intentionally bypassed and leapfrogged over the station's system by going directly to the host. The time turnaround is so frantic in those situations. I think there was just a lot of chaos happening around the interview, so it's really important to just understand the Biden White House and campaign. They tried to do a fast one and basically eliminate and overstep what the established, understood protocol would be, and that's what I really think created all of this turmoil. So, see, Fast Eddie, it was the Biden White House's fault that Miss Lawful-Sanders was tricked into asking him questions they told her to ask. She was tricked because they went around WURD management, which is protocol.
Yes, that's a producer. Between producer and host, we run everything. Every guest, every question you're going to ask, everything you're going to talk about, we run through management first.
Don't you?
Before we come.
And by the way, don't you know the suits in the corner office that manage this show? Don't you wish that were true? Don't you know they wish there would be nothing they would love more than to sit and have meetings every day to hear every detail about what this show's about to do. But they also know they'd have no show because I would never accept those terms, nor would they ever ask, to be fair. But I'm kind of kidding. But it is the proverbial teenage wet dream of radio management to sit down and micromanage a radio show like this one. As if there would be policy in place that says, hey, now, before you have your interview with Donald Trump, we need you to run the questions by us to make sure we approve of them. Can you imagine? Although that's what this WURD woman who runs, she's claiming that that's their policy, that everyone that works on their air has to go through management to not only book interviews, but also clarify all questions that are about to be asked of the guest.
That's common protocol,
sure.
Chris. That's all. That's what we do in radio.
That's right. So it's fascinating. They're attacking Biden now. I maintain that this woman, this Lawful-Sanders, why in the world she just sat there calmly and said aloud, yes, I read the questions exactly as they submitted them to me. Why do you suppose she voluntarily embarrassed herself like that? Just like, why do you suppose that guy ran up on the street and asked George Stephanopoulos, hey, do you think Joe Biden's going to resign? You've spent more time with him lately than anybody else. Should he be president? And George says, no, I don't think he should be president. I don't think he can be for the next 4 years. I don't think he's got the stuff. Oh, I'm so sorry. ABC then comes out and says, George shouldn't have said that. And George says, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, we're so sorry that George said that. Folks, were we born yesterday? This woman at WURD was a plant. Of course she was given questions. And then she goes on CNN and says, yes, I was given questions and I read them verbatim. And then there was this great explosion. Axios is writing about it today. Can you believe it? Can you believe this White House giving questions to this woman? You all do it. This is the game you've all been playing. For some reason, they're making this Lawful-Sanders woman the sacrificial lamb. They all do it. He's had cue cards for 3.5 years with the literal questions they're about to ask. We've talked about this in White House press briefings. Pepe Le Pew approves. She knows what these media people are about to ask her and the president. When those questions are asked, she knows. They have the question written on the card for the Husk. We've seen the zoomed-in photos. He has the pronunciation of the reporter. How many times have we played the clips of the Husk saying, I'm going to get in trouble here if I better be careful. Let me take one more question. I got to call on the people that I'm told to call first. Right? Hasn't the Husk been saying from the very beginning he's told to call on people in certain order? Are you telling me these people never thought that odd before today? You and I have. We've been talking about it for 3.5 years. So back to this Axios piece. Boy, now we're really going to roast him. Yeah, we're going to get him today. He's going to have this press conference, and by God, we're going to have our way with him now. You watch out. Right. White House officials point to Biden's 47 interviews this year. Biden will do an interview in Austin Monday night with Lester Holt, airing as a primetime special at 9 p.m. Eastern, counter-programming the opening night of the Republican convention. So what do you predict will come of that? So NBC is going to tape an interview with the Husk, pre-edit it, and package it, and air it as a counter program to night number 1 of the RNC convention. How's that going to work? Do you think he's going to come out looking sharp and polished, and that's going to take the news cycle away from the RNC? Wouldn't surprise me. Ooh, strong night. Strong, tough questions from Lester Holt. Strong night from the Husk. Boy, he looked great. And so the week of the RNC's convention will kick off with, hey, big Biden rebound with Lester Holt. Is that possible, Fast Eddie?
It could be, yeah, I guess.
I'm walking out possibilities here, keeping my options open. Not predicting, just saying these are all possibilities. Now, this piece at Axios is hilarious. A true Washington psychodrama will unfold today, a mile from the White House at the Walter E. Washington Convention Center. This is written by Jim Vandehei and Mike Allen at Axios. A red-hot press corps which feels ignored, used, and deceived. Fast Eddie, can you believe these weasels are writing this? A red-hot press corps which feels ignored, used, and deceived will get its first true unfiltered crack at grilling Joe Biden, the most media-sheltered president of the modern times. A Biden advisor told us the dogs are loose. Biden, bitter over media coverage of his age and acuity, gets his shot at redemption, a chance to show the press and the public he can think fast, handle the heat, and spar, and speak improvisationally without glitching. The stakes are higher even than the presidential debate, because if Biden looks weak and wobbly, his Democrat critics will pounce and crank up resignation calls. If he looks strong and steady, the anti-Biden campaign could stall. Dun, dun, dun. And Axios, of course, has put themselves smack in the middle of it. We, the White House press corps, who have been ignored and abused and played for suckers, now we're going to have our way and make him prove his mettle. Oh, shut up, you dishonest hacks. Yeah, now, hey, we've been kicked around. You're not going to have us at the press corps to kick around anymore, by God. We're coming guns a-blazing. Shut up, you phonies, you. You frauds, every one of you. You all did this. You all carried on like this. You all have lied and gaslit the American public for 3.5 years. You knew damn good and well he was never lucid or able to do the job, and you knew damn good and well that you were locked out of finding out information. You weren't even curious. You didn't ask questions. Peter Doocy's the only guy that ever asked anything challenging for the last 3.5 years. Yeah, let us at him. I think I'm more incredulous about a press corps pretending that they're tough and battered and diminished and demeaned, and they're going to have their day today with Joe Biden. Does that insult you more, Fast Eddie, than even the Husk and this administration? I'm almost more insulted by the media pretending that this is some, what is it, as Jon Stewart said, this new and shocking revelation that the Husk is diminished and can't perform his duties. Come on. What's more offensive, the Husk himself or the people around him who have been pretending for 3.5 years everything's fine when they knew damn good and well it wasn't, and that this is a new shocking revelation? It's outrageously offensive that these people expect you and me to believe they've been hoodwinked and now they're going to get tough.
Chris, if you could believe it, I actually went off on a leftist friend of mine who did vote Biden in 2020 and now has the gall to be complaining about everything. It's like, what do you mean he's not good after 8 p.m. and only good between 10 and 4? I'm like, we were talking about this in 2019 when he said he was going to run for Senate, his first big rally. And he said he was running for... I said, we've been saying this. I said, you have a media that's complicit. You knew he was diminished. Stop it.
Yeah.
You're coming to be now all pissed off about it?
Yeah, anybody that's acting like they didn't know is lying. They're lying, or they're just willfully ignorant, but they're lying. You know, it's like a guy that looks in his mirror and keeps brushing the comb over the bald spot. Dude, you're bald. You know you're bald. Just because you keep coming over the baldness doesn't make you not bald. We all see it, and you do too, but you've just been convincing yourself the comb-over works. At the very heart of our democracy lies a principle we hold sacred, and that's free speech. It's the cornerstone that supports every freedom we cherish, allowing ideas to flourish, debates to ignite, and progress to be made. Without it, our pursuit of liberty, our ability to challenge, or our capacity to innovate, it would be really constrained. Now, in today's digital age, the very platform that should democratize information is being allowed to narrow the spectrum of ideas we're exposed to. Really important discussions about our wealth, our rights, our future, systemically silenced or overshadowed in mainstream narratives, leaving many feeling voiceless in conversations that are really crucial to your financial independence and your security. And that's where the company Wealth Protection Research steps in. They're armed with a mission that's never been more critical. Wealth Protection Research is not a financial advisory firm. I want to be clear about that. They're defenders of free speech. They're committed to giving a voice to the silenced. In an era where dialogues about retirement, investments, economic freedoms are increasingly censored, Wealth Protection Research is focused on ensuring that diverse, controversial, and revolutionary ideas also get a platform. Wealth Protection Research tirelessly seeks out financial experts through leaders and thought leaders, trailblazers, all who've been pushed to the margins by mainstream media and tech platforms like Facebook and Google. These are the voices that challenge prevailing narratives, offering fresh, often contrarian perspectives on protecting and growing your wealth, especially as we navigate the uncertainties of this coming election. By spotlighting these thinkers, people like Jim Rickards or Porter Stansberry, Wealth Protection Research is not just sharing financial advice, they're fostering a movement toward a more open, informed, and free society. Wealth Protection Research has created a 2024 election wealth protection report, and it's a completely free report. It highlights the 3 best ideas for protecting and growing your money heading into the 2024 election, and it also contains ideas the mainstream media doesn't want to touch. Listeners to this show can get this whole thing completely free if you text the word ideas to 76626. Just text ideas to 76626, and if you do that today, you're also going to get a free gold investment kit from Wealth Protection Research. And the sponsor of that is Augusta Precious Metals, by the way, and we appreciate that. So just text ideas to 76626. If you're like me and you believe in the sanctity of free speech and the importance of financial freedom, act now. Text ideas to 76626. Claim your free copy of this 2024 election report. You know, it's time to widen the scope of what we're told. You know we believe that here. Hear the ideas that establishment folks can't handle and don't think you can handle. Take control of your own financial destiny. Text ideas to 76626 to claim your free copy. The battle for free speech is the battle for our future, and Wealth Protection Research ensures that the ideas capable of shaping our financial well-being are available to all of us who want to hear them. So don't wait. Grab your free report right now. Text ideas to 76626 and claim your free copy. Joe Concha, our great friend, Fox News contributor and author extraordinaire, joins us again. Mr. Concha, good morning. We're getting closer to release date, aren't we?
July 30th. So what's today? July 11th. So yeah, we're on the green now at this point. We'll put it that way.
Is it available? Because I think the last time we talked, pre-order wasn't a thing yet. Is it pre-orderable yet?
It's a thing now. So you want to do the title? Want me to do it?
Please, go.
All right. It's called Progressively Worse. Why today's Democrats ain't your daddy's donkeys.
Boy, if ever there were a time to have a book like this one released, I mean, you hit a sweet spot, my friend.
I'm so glad you said that, because I was just talking to my publisher yesterday at HarperCollins, and I'm like, could we have timed this better, given everything that's happening right now, where you have the Democratic Party who swears they are the only ones who could save democracy for the Republic, and they're trying to desperately install a candidate. Primary voters, screw you. We're going to just pick Gretchen Whitmer, who looks like Sigourney Weaver from Aliens, and everything should be okay.
All right. What are your favorites? Let's go with this, Joe Concha. You ready for this?
My favorite.
Chuck Todd, MSNBC.
Oh.
Let's take a listen, and then I'd love to get your reaction.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Number 58, Fast
It has
Eddie.
made me want to rethink a lot of the Biden biography. I still can't believe he ran for president in the first place, given that his family was in crisis. in 2018. You look at what has happened. I can't believe he put his family through this. And now looking at his behavior now in clinging to this, I think the entire narrative on Joe Biden is going to change in that everything has been about his ambition, and his ambition comes first.
I mean, that and coupled with all these people over at Axios this morning saying, we've been locked out, we've been lied to, he's been sheltered. Boy, we're really going to let him have it now. I mean, Joe Concha, come on.
I saw Brian Stelter on CNN yesterday. Again, they fired this person last year, right? The CNN senior media, the correspondent. And he's on more than people they actually pay. Like, how does that happen? Right?
It's a great
like
question.
The Packers, like, Rodgers, you're in a quarterback. Hey, didn't we trade you last year? Yeah, get back in there anyway. Can you be so shameless? Like, you're handed your stuff. You got to walk out with a box of your stuff, and then you still beg to go back on your old network because you think you're relevant. And Stelter was saying how offended he was that the White House had duped him on Biden's health. You don't get duped if you have three things: eyesight, hearing, and sanity. For the last 5 years, we have seen Joe Biden this way. To forget, like, while he was president or just before the debate. No, there's a reason why they kept him in the basement in 2020. Don't give me COVID, because they could put his answers to questions in a teleprompter. It's very simple. I went back and watched some of those interviews yesterday, and he is reading. He is absolutely reading his answers, and there's a reason for it, because his people closest to him, like Dr. Jill Biden, a fake doctor who's currently our fake president, she enabled this. Hunter Biden enabled this. Ron Klain enabled this. Jen Psaki enabled this. Go down the line. They're part of the biggest cover-up in American political history, quite frankly. And all these media people coming forward now acting like they're tough in terms of covering Biden. No. Here's how it works with the media. If they're tough on a Democrat, it's only to benefit another Democrat, to prop that other Democrat up. And that could be any number of people, from Sigourney Weaver, Whitmer, to Gavin Newsom, to, Hillary Clinton, to Susan Rice, Jerry Rice, Ray Rice, Eddie Rice. Doesn't matter. Put that person in as a Democrat, and as long as Trump is defeated, that's the only thing that matters.
Joe Concha's brand new book, available now for pre-order, out on July 30th. Progressively Worse: Why Today's Democrats Ain't Your Daddy's Donkeys. Joe, the thing that I found fascinating, and I know you did too, I have not talked to you since the debate on CNN. So let me ask you, to me, here's my opinion. Watching that panel discussion on CNN immediately after the debate, it was as if a flare was shot in the air by David Axelrod when he said, he looked at his phone. Oh my, I'm getting texts and tweets from insiders that say it's curtains for... It was like, to me, I felt like we were watching a real-time political assassination. It was, as soon as Axelrod said it, Katie barred the door. The floodgates opened, and I'm sincerely asking you, I mean, I don't mean to make too much of it, but it feels like an all-call went out that night. And I don't know if it was purposeful or not. So they went from this defensive crouch of Biden to all of them in unison saying he's got to go. That doesn't happen very often.
And the Axelrod, the text that you were looking at were all texts from B. Obama, B. Obama, B. Obama. They just kept coming in. That's the flare.
Right.
Obviously, when Axelrod speaks, it's Obama speaking. Let's face it. When Van Jones speaks, it's Obama speaking. So that's... Yeah, look, it's impossible. It is I can't even. I'm choking on my own words here, because to describe the media, how they were exposed here. Finally, thank God. As far as everything they have told us over the past couple of years, Trump is an agent of Putin. Steele dossier is real. Trump used tear gas on protesters at Lafayette Park. Trump ignored the fact there were U.S. bounties. There were bounties on U.S. soldiers by the Russians. Never happened. I could go down the list of all the things they have lied about and knowingly lied about. Don't tell me about duped or bad sources. This is intentional, because these are not journalists. These are activists. And now the activists are trying to get rid of Joe Biden because they know he can't win. The internal polling has come out now from Democrats showing that this will be a landslide for Donald Trump. Forget the swing states that we always talk about. He's winning New Jersey New Mexico, New Hampshire. Pick your new state. He's winning it. New York, he's within striking distance. CNN had a panel. No, I'm sorry, it was a Daily Show. I don't know if you saw this. They had a panel on last night of all black voters, only from New York, and half said they would vote for Trump. Half, right? 50%. A Republican doesn't get like 10% normally in a presidential race. So yeah, it's all going the wrong way. And you tell me, Chris, how are they gonna figure this out? How are they going to get rid of Biden, who does not want to leave? You can't force him out because that's worse. And then your alternative is Kamala friggin' Harris. Like that's basically plan A and plan B. And there is no, all those other candidates I mentioned, there's not going to be a blitz primary. There's no way you could possibly put that together. A broker convention would be a mess because you have to assume that, Democrats are just going to coalesce around one person. They can't do that. They're too power hungry. Right, so there'll be 4 or 5 people fighting for the nomination. Bernie will probably throw himself back in. It'll be insane. So I don't see how they get out of this. And quite frankly, we're not just talking about the presidency. The Senate, the House, everything goes Republicans' way, and Democrats will not be able to recover from this for a generation, honestly, because you tell me where the future is in that party.
Well, that's the thing that I find fascinating about House Democrats in particular. They've all got races to run back in their respective districts. And for those Democrats that are in purple districts or soft blue districts, I think they're really seriously wondering, are they better off with Biden than if they tossed him and went with Kamala? I think the Democrats are torn. Not left coast people, not like Nancy Pelosi and George Clooney. They think the world revolves around left-wing politics. But, some of this, if you want to call them centrist or blue dog or moderate Democrat districts, I think they're genuinely terrified of what their options are, if any, right now.
Oh, an Axios report that came out on Tuesday said that during a private meeting, some of the people that you're talking about in those soft districts were literally in tears. Yeah. Because they know that even if they're like a good candidate, maybe they're like an old school Democrat, right? I thought Bill Clinton happened to be a great president. And don't tell me about Monica, but I'm talking about on terms of policy.
We didn't hate the country. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we had peace, we had prosperity, we had a budget surplus. We actually had a balanced budget amendment. The end of big government, he declared, was over. Welfare reform. He worked with Newt Gingrich. I like a president like that. I don't care what letter is next to your name, right? That you could still have some Democrats that think along those lines, and they're screwed. Yes. Because if Trump is winning by 10 or 15 points in their state that normally would be a toss-up, there can't be enough crossover votes to get them over the finish line, like in places like Pennsylvania or Wisconsin or Michigan. So, I mean, if you're a Republican right now, every day you wake up and you've got kind of a smile on your face, a little pep in your step. You're like, this is the best 2 weeks of your life right now. Let's face it.
Joe Concha's brand new book, Progressively Worse, Why Today's Democrats Ain't Your Daddy's Donkeys, out on July 30th, but you can pre-order it now. And Joe, today is the big boy press conference, they keep calling it. What do you expect to see out of the media and their performance, and then, of course, Joe Biden's performance in response?
Do you follow me on social media at all, like Facebook or Twitter?
On Twitter, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if I posted any photos of my son's Little League team. They're called the Wyckoff Bananas because we wear yellow, and they wanted to be the Bananas because everybody loves the Savannah Bananas. The reason why I bring this up is because in this season, because he's 8, we use parent pitching because if the kids throw, it's going to be out of control and everything's going to be a walk, or kids are actually going to get hurt. So the parents pitch instead. Or in this case, the coaches pitch. And I say to him, next year, Liam, you're going to be in the big boy league where the kids are going to throw it. In other words, when John Kirby and Karine Jean-Pierre start calling this the big boy press conference, that's like talking to an 8-year-old. Right? The big boy. What does that mean?
So embarrassing.
Donald Trump had 35 solo press conferences in his final year in office. 35. This president hasn't had one in a year. And now, he's doing one. It's supposed to be a big deal. See, he can do it. It's a big boy press conference. It's like,
in fact, here's the funny thing.
With cheese. It's like, what?
You know what's so funny, Joe? I remember talking to you during the godforsaken era of COVID when Trump would go out and do 2-hour pressers, and we were like, when will this end? I mean, we wanted his press conferences to end. He wouldn't stop talking and taking questions. Remember those?
Yeah, that's right. Because you had nothing else to watch. It was like baseball from South Korea, right, which was available on DraftKings, and Trump's press conference. That was it.
But I mean, he relished them. He relished taking questions all day, every day. I thought he would never stop taking questions. This guy, to your point, none. He's never done it.
And Mike Pence ran a lot of those press conferences as well. And the reason why I bring him up is he's a vice president. Vice presidents don't do press conferences. No, they don't, do they? Like Kamala Harris. So let's go back to her for a second. People think if you install her in, right, or Biden steps aside so as vice president, she gets the nomination because she gets the war chest, and, you don't want to cross Kamala and all those black voters. So let's make her the nominee, and maybe we have a shot. You have zero shot. And the reason why is that she is completely unbattle tested. And when she ran for president in 2020, she didn't even get to 2020, right? She had to drop off in December of 2019 because she was polling so poorly among Democrats. And then she had the audacity to say, I didn't win because of sexism and racism. Well, that's one hell of a way to talk about Democratic voters, but okay. And then you look at her LinkedIn page, and on top of it, it says border czar. That's her number one job. If there's a grade below F, she gets it for that. And imagine Kamala Harris going to Pennsylvania and talking to steel workers or auto workers in Michigan, this coastal elitist, just like Gavin Newsom, just like Gretchen Whitmer to a certain extent. They're not relatable to these people. Let's face it, right, in places like Wisconsin or Georgia or Arizona. So, again, install your candidate. It doesn't matter. The Democratic brand is broken on inflation, on the border, on foreign policy. They're the party of war right now. Let's face it. I talk a lot about that in my book. Again, I keep ending with the same sentence, but they're screwed. I don't know how else to put it, and there is no out at this point.
The brand new book, soon to be out, Progressively Worse, Why Today's Democrats Ain't Your Daddy's Donkeys. Pre-order it now. Joe Concha, coach, almost soon to be coach of the Big Boy League. Watching the Big Boy press conference today. Very excited for you, my friend.
It's going to be so fun talking about this on Fox later. Yes, thank you. And please do pre-order the book because I'm taking my kids to camp right now, and this stuff is expensive, dude. It was like $20 when I was growing up to go to the Wayne PAL. Now it's like $2,000, and your kid could kick a soccer ball around for 3 hours. What am I paying for?
You got to get in good with like Clooney. Have yourself one of those celebrity fundraisers. Get some of that celebrity cash they throw around. Yeah.
Ocean's 14, where they got $30 million out of a fundraiser, and no one noticed. Incredible.
Thank you, Joseph.
Good job, Ocean. Thank you. Bye.
Hey, Mike Lindell and My Pillow, you know the name. 20 years they've been singing the jingle on Fox News and on the radio, and it's no secret that Mike and the company have come under a lot of scrutiny and a lot of attack. Big box stores have tossed My Pillow from their stores. Even the online retailers now won't sell My Pillow products. And who does that hurt, really? I mean, yeah, I understand they don't like Mike's position on the election or whatever, but Mike employs hundreds of Americans, hundreds of Minnesotans who make great products. If you know the My Pillow products, I sleep on them every night. So does my dog Dean. They're great products, and he wants to sell them to you at unbelievable prices, by the way, but they're backed with a 10-year warranty, 60-day money-back guarantee, and most importantly, again, they're made here in the United States. So it's not something he's asking me to say. It's just something I'd like to remind you of, that a guy who has an opinion, who happens to own a very successful American company and employs a lot of Americans who make great American products that a lot of you have bought and owned or are looking to buy and own. I just want you to know that while he takes it on the chin a lot out there for having the positions he has, he wants to keep his employees busy. He wants to keep the company moving along, and so he's passing on huge, huge savings to you in what he's calling the $25 extravaganza. Getting the word out, I want to invite you to check out this $25 extravaganza today. 2 multi-pack My Pillows, just $25. My Pillow sandals, just $25. I'm looking at the list of these deals right now. 6-pack towel set, just $25. 6-pack of towels, $25. And the My Pillows with the new Giza fabric, just $25. And here's the thing, if you order any or all of this stuff, if you exceed $75 with your order, he ships it to you for free. So free shipping on anything $75 or over. And look, with all those deals and so many more at just $25 a piece, I think you'll be very, very pleased with not just the quality, but the price point and the free shipping. It's MyPillow.com. I hope you'll use the promo code ChrisPodcast. MyPillow.com, ChrisPodcast. to take advantage of all these savings. Get that free shipping over $75. Or call 800-932-5056. Great operators, American-based operators. You can call and say, hey, I'm with you. And hang in there. 800-932-5056. Don't forget the promo code Chris Podcast. It lets them know you listen, which I appreciate, but more importantly, get you that deal. MyPillow.com or 800-932-5056. Promo code Chris Podcast. By the way, I'm going to say something else that's unpopular because why not? This is not going to be popular, Fast Eddie. Buckle up. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
This is likely to make people mad.
All right.
Donald Trump right now, by all metrics, seems to be kicking butt with minorities. I mean, by Republican metrics anyway. According to polls, particularly with black men, it seems Trump is doing well. Agreed?
Agreed.
What would be one of the easiest ways to ruin that? Here's what it is. Now, folks, I'm cautioning you. Listen to me. Lean in here. Turn it up. Give me a minute. Really focus on what I'm saying here. I understand that we're all having a lot of fun with the intra-party fighting, with the Husk flailing about, with the Democrats now threatening to throw him overboard. I know that you're saying to yourself, like I've said, like we're saying, what a disaster it would be for them if their only option, their only viable option was Kamala Harris. She is an empty vessel. She isn't effective. She was the first to drop out of the Democrat primary. Black voters didn't even like her enough to keep her around. She was first out, first loser in the Democrat ranks. And so you say to yourself, like I've said, oh man, if that's the best they've got as an alternative, maybe they're better to stick around with Joe Biden. Well, here's the thing. There is a way that Kamala Harris can very quickly become popular if, in fact, they decide to make her the nominee. And you know what it is? If people on our side continue to say stupid things and continue to make stupid mistakes like bringing up her race and calling her a DEI hire. I'm sorry. I know that there's some of you that don't like that. But I'm warning you right now, and listen to me very closely. If you think Kamala Harris cannot be elected president of the United States, air quote, in this country, you are sorely mistaken. You are kidding yourself. Yes, she's a joke. Yes, she's an unserious person. Yes, she was the first loser in the Democrat primary. But if the Democrats decide to make her the candidate, they will move heaven and earth to insulate her just the way they insulated Joe Biden. And I want you to listen to me. We have a lot of people on our side that are having a lot of fun calling her a DEI hire. And I will tell you the fastest way to lose black support for Trump is to make him start explaining why they keep dismissing Kamala Harris, suggesting it's her race only that gave her the job. And that somehow, because the inference will be, whether you like it or not, the media inference will be, look at all those racist Republicans. Those sexist, racist Republicans who keep dismissing this qualified woman of color, reducing her to a race and a gender. You see, they're sexists and they're racists and they're bigots. And they'll play on a loop people from the commentariat calling her a DEI hire. Fast Eddie, do you disagree with me? I would strongly caution our side from getting cocky and attacking Kamala Harris right now.
Oh, Chris, I agree 110%, man. I'm glad you're enunciating it better than it was in my head jumbled like this. So you're putting on to into words what I'm thinking here.
I already see it. I'm watching it this morning. I'm whatever. I'm not going to name names. It doesn't matter. But I'm watching CNN building the case right now using some of my colleagues' words about her. Morning Joe, similarly, they're rolling out a bunch of pro-Kamala stuff. This may be where they're going, in fact. We may, as shocking as it would be to me, as glitteringly incapable and unqualified as Kamala Harris is, as empty as I believe the woman is, the one thing that they're going to do, guarantee it, is insulate her using her gender and her race. And they will do it effectively, and they will pound it, and they will look at you and me and say, well, the party of the old white guy just doesn't like a black woman running things. And they're demeaning her by calling her a DEI hire. How dare they? And they will club us over the head with that over and over again. So I would strongly suggest we stick to the merits of the lack of qualifications of this person. I strongly suggest we do not talk about Kamala Harris as a person of color or a woman. We talk about her as an unqualified empty vessel who has failed, who has nothing to offer, who was, in fact, the first loser, who lost the support of black men overwhelmingly because she was jailing them right and left for basic low-level drug offenses. There's a laundry list of reasons to be critical of Kamala Harris without going lowbrow. And I strongly advise, because I know there are a lot of people that listen to this show for ideas, so let me just get it out there. If you do a show and you're listening to me for ideas today, I would strongly caution you to find a new line of attack against Kamala Harris that doesn't involve race or gender and calling her a DEI hire. That will come back to haunt you. They're already building the case. Warning you. That's my warning. There. Sure, I'm going to get angry mail about it, but that's my warning. All right? Note it. I said it. Did you happen to catch Eric Swalwell, Captain Douche? You know, I call him that. Every now and again, people ask me, why do you call him that? Because when he ran for president, remember what he did? He did. The guy that was humping a Chinese spy ran for president for a minute. Remember that? And he called himself and the Democrat squad that was running alongside him the Avengers. So I've been calling him Captain Douche ever since he referred to himself as one of the Avengers. And just also one of the stupidest, I mean, just really straight up stone cold dumb. Now, you're in the middle of a congressional hearing, and of all people, summoned to Capitol Hill to speak is Ben Shapiro. Fast Eddie, if you're Captain Douche and you know that you're stupid, although he's arrogant enough to believe he's smart, but everyone understands, even if you don't like him, everyone understands Ben Shapiro's IQ is through the roof. It's off the charts.
Yes, he's one of the best debaters we have.
So do you think it's a good idea for Captain Douche to try to showboat versus Ben Shapiro in a Capitol Hill exchange?
Oh, I like it for us. I don't like it for him.
Here's how some of that went yesterday.
You probably want less bureaucracy, right?
I do.
I want less bureaucracy. You want more efficiency?
I do.
I want more efficiency. You want taxpayer money spent wisely?
I do. Congrats on becoming a Republican.
Yeah. My parents would be proud. Mass deportations, it calls for that. Do you support that part?
I support the deportation of any illegal immigrant who's in the United States who is not of benefit to the generalized American public.
So if they're picking agriculture that puts food on the tables of everyday Americans, they've never committed a crime inside the United States, they didn't come across with documents, should they be deported?
If they have not paid taxes and if their draw on the taxpayer benefits are larger than the contribution they are making to the economy, or if they're involved in criminal activity, they should be deported.
How do we measure that?
The same way that the IRS measures my income every year. It seems like if the IRS can track down every aspect of every receipt that I've ever submitted, and
so
they can do so for hundreds of millions of other Americans, they can do that for illegal immigrants as well, except for the fact that no one knows how many are in the country thanks to this administration.
So you would be cool with creating a system where they could pay those taxes if they wanted to and then stay and work and put food on our table?
It depends on how long it would take for them to pay the taxes, and they would also have to go presumably to the back of the line, although I'm not sure why I'm testifying about immigration policy at this point.
It went progressively worse after this. I mean, this went on for about 4 minutes. I strongly recommend you watch the full 4.5 minutes of Eric Swalwell versus Ben Shapiro. It's just brilliant. Oh, and this, Fast Eddie, I just sent you a clip a minute ago. I don't know if you have time to, you have this? Okay, this just came down this morning, ladies and gentlemen. Uh-oh. Over there at the Nerd Prom King and Queen, Joe and Mika discussing Biden's troubles here and what's going on. Well, it's taken them a long time to catch up, but lo and behold, it sure seems like now all of a sudden, even those on the left agree with me.
I'll say one thing that we do have to underline here, just so viewers can follow what's going on behind the scenes, is the Biden campaign and many Democratic officials do believe that Barack Obama is quietly working behind the scenes to orchestrate this.
Oh, they do. Do tell, Joe Scarborough. Many Democrats now, wink, now believe Barack Obama is pulling the strings and running the show. This is rich. I mean, this is... So the media's really going to take it to Joe today during his big boy press conference, by God. They've had it. They're tired of being lied to and gaslit and shoved around and locked out and not being able to talk to him. They're really going to let him have it now. They can't believe what bad a shape he's in and how they've been lied to. The media's really going to be tough. And now some Democrats are really convinced that Obama's been running stuff and he's behind the scenes pulling the strings. 3.5 years this show has been saying these things. 3.5 years. You've known this, just like me. 3.5 years. This has been as plain as the nose on all of our faces. And now all of these Democrats are showing up, talking to you about stuff we've been talking about for 3.5 years like they just discovered it. It would be shameful if they had any shame. See you tomorrow.
The Chris Stigall Show Podcast.